Well, we have in Scotland very stretching targets, 42% emission reduction target for 2020, and we currently have an annual statutory target for 2027 for about 57% reduction in emissions. So we're at the higher level of ambition in terms of the international spectrum. And we have put in place, we believe, a very strong and consistent policy framework in Scotland to give a degree of certainty to investors in the renewable energy sector and in other sectors that they have that consistent government support. We've got unanimous support for the legislation we put in place, which means any future government changes will not result in a loss of confidence in the sector in terms of the consistency of support for investment, and we believe we've got the right regulatory framework in place to help the industry as well.
So what in effect are you doing to encourage investment into the renewable energy sector?
Well, we've done a number of things. We launched the Saltire Prize in 2007, which is an award to the first commercial development of a marine energy project. So a number of companies competing to develop the first commercially viable tidal or wave energy array in Scotland. We've currently licensed two projects which have European funding in Islay and up in the Pentland Firth, and we also have recently given permission to what could be Europe's largest commercial tidal array in the Pentland Firth, just at the very north of Scotland. So these are all very exciting developments, and we're wanting to develop also the offshore wind sector, which is going to be a major contributor to decarbonising our electricity, which we've set a target for by 2030. And offshore wind energy is a great opportunity for us in the continental shelf in the North Sea. And at the moment we're developing the world's largest offshore wind turbine, which is going to be a 7 megawatt turbine, which is capable of powering just under 5,000 houses in Scotland. So it's exciting time for the industry, and we're very supportive of the development of renewable energy in Scotland.
So what do you think are going to be the main sort of challenges over the next 5 years, for example, to both business and obviously from a government perspective in terms of implementing the framework?
Well, a number of them, the kind of political environment, there's only certainty about support at European Union level for a renewable sector up to 2020. So we're pushing for greater signals as to the level of government and European Union-wide support for renewable energy beyond 2020 up to 2030 and beyond. So that's important to get the political framework correct. But we also have challenges in terms of creating the correct infrastructure in terms of the grid, the smart grid, and creating a European-wide energy infrastructure so that we can export our electricity that we're generating in Scotland to the rest of Europe and meet the needs of consumers across the continent.
And do you think consumers are sort of sufficiently educated enough in these sorts of issues?
Well, we have to deal with, there's obviously some degree of misunderstanding about the level of subsidy for the renewable energy sector. We have a number of challenges in that respect in getting those messages across in the media, but we do know that actually the UK's Committee on Climate Change has demonstrated that the investment in renewables is actually saving people money currently, but also in the longer term, because we know if we didn't have investment in renewables, be open to greater sensitivity to the wholesale gas markets, which have shown substantial increases in prices for consumers, and that is creating sort of fuel poverty for customers across Europe. So we think it's very important to continue the momentum in investing in renewables so that we can deliver a more robust system of energy supply across Europe, but also protect consumers from the potential rises in fossil fuel prices in future, and make sure that they have a sustainable future in Europe.
Now, Minister, we're here at COP19 in Warsaw, and there's obviously 2 years to go until obviously 2015, when the new framework is meant to be in place. Do you think that will be met in time?
It's looking challenging, but you have to retain some hope that we can lay the foundations here in Warsaw for a deal in Paris in 2015, and obviously make further progress next September with the summit that is being held by the UN Secretary General, and that the people do take seriously the invitation to put on the table what their offer is in terms of climate mitigation, and to allow that to be open to inspection so that we can have confidence across all parties at the COP that people are not only putting down offers but meaning what they say, and they can demonstrate, they can deliver. That's important to create trust between developed and developing nations, but also to create the right environment, I think, for a global deal in Paris in 2015. And we want to play our part. We don't have a direct voice at the table, but through the Climate Group and other means, we are making sure people are aware of what we're already putting on the table, and our desire to assist developing countries through our climate justice agenda as well, to try and look at the human rights dimension of climate change and assist developing nations to skip that high carbon phase of their development and make sure they have access to the technology they need to deliver a sustainable future for those developing countries.